Hey guys, Desolator Magic back with another great video. This time I want to talk about one problem that I see with Shadows over Innistrad. Well, not really a problem, but if you like to play control and you're a bit of a control freak when you play Magic, this is going to seem like a problem. Remember when Tormod's Crypt was legal from M15? And then directly afterward we picked up Cranial Archive in Khans of Tarkir. Well, unfortunately, that's the end of the graveyard nuking as far as I know, or at least universal colorless graveyard nuking for sure. Now, as I'm sure you've heard, Shadows over Innistrad has a new mechanic called Delirium. What happens is, it triggers under certain circumstances and timings, based around if there are 4 or more card types among the cards in your graveyard. So it's basically Tarmogoyf. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a very unreliable, hard-to-maintain mechanic, and it looks like it's basically just not even really worth it for almost any card I've read so far. So, pretty weak mechanic. I don't think we're going to see a lot of decks that revolve around it, but I also think in some well-built decks it'll be very easy to have this by like turn 3 or 4. I've noticed a pattern whenever a new mechanic comes out that makes cards more powerful, or is like a really big combo type of thing, they always make a way to stop it. So the question is, when the very last hope of graveyard nuking, which is, of course, Cranial Archive, when that cycles out, exactly when Shadows is launched, are we going to get another card similar to it? I think that we actually won't, and I think that's why they made Delirium not completely insane. It's not like, oh, Delirium, your opponent loses 5 life at their upkeep or something, where you have to stop it. They wouldn't then give you no way to stop it. I really think that we'll probably see some graveyard clearing in 1 or 2 colors, but I just feel like it probably won't actually happen with colorless. On the other hand, if they did turn around and announce, hey, we're printing Tormod's Crypt because, crypts and the undead and graves and stuff, that's totally Innistrad, I wouldn't be that surprised. And the card has been printed 6 times, so it is sort of like one of those perpetual cards that nobody really wants to go away because it's such a staple. It would sort of fit, too, because, if there was 2 versions of a graveyard clearer, do you really want to waste 8 spots in your graveyard just to stop a potentially sort of weak mechanic called Delirium? Or would you just put in 4 anyway? Now, if you put in 4 of a card, the probability of pulling 1 of them by turn 8 in a standard game while pulling 7 in the start and not mulliganing is only 69%, and there's only a 40% chance that it will actually be in your opening hand. So it's not reliable. It would be, about every other game on average, maybe a little bit higher. Ideally, if you really want to shut down someone's mechanic or, whatever they're doing, or a combo or something, you would have 6 or 7 of a card to do it. So it is possible, and I really think it could be that card specifically, or they could come up with something else, who knows. But without the core set, which is where Tormod's was printed in the past, they would either have to print it somewhere or print some sort of really, really similar, like, functional clone, I guess they call it. In fact, maybe they'll make an identical version to it, but in order to clear your opponent's graveyard, you have to have Delirium. That would be pretty funny. But once again, if I had to place just one single guess, I would say that they are probably not going to print a graveyard clearing card. Not only is Delirium extremely, extremely hard to actually get going without fetch lands, because, unless you're putting an Evolving Wilds into the graveyard, you aren't going to have land in there as a card type. It actually looks a lot less likely to discard land from your hand than it is to discard another spell, so it's going to be a little bit rough. There are enough that you could arbitrarily probably drop a land in there if you really wanted, but the rest of the problem with Delirium is that I don't like discarding cards on purpose in general anyway, like targeting myself with the discard, or, making a creature enter the battlefield where then I have to discard something, because anytime you have to discard a card, it makes you feel like you built your deck wrong, and honestly, you probably did. So if you can't find a card to discard, like you're holding 5 cards and you need every single last one of them, that means you built your deck correctly. Well, now how are you going to trigger Delirium? You'd be tossing out cards like a kill spell, and then you might need that later, or some sort of instant that's going to save your creature, or boost your creature, some spell that you could win the game with, or a really good medium-sized creature. You might need that later, so why put it into your graveyard? So if it's so unbelievably difficult to trigger, why do you need to stop it? So it seems to me like Delirium actually is just like, the game has been going on too long, oh look, Delirium, boom, take my creatures up a power level and start really pounding the enemy. So it's sort of like a long game eliminator or preventer, I guess you could say. So because of that fact alone, I think that they're not going to print a graveyard clearing card. They're just going to let it cycle out and just leave it for a block or two, basically. But what do you guys think? If you have any evidence or any leaks that I missed or just your opinion on it, leave it down in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next video.